well, that pay-per-view sucked. How can you possibly have a good pay-per-view when John Cena wins once again in the main event? It's all predictable. It's all bullshit. It's all the same old shit. I'm getting ready to quit watching the WWE. I'm going to only watch TNA from now on. Wait a minute. Not a typical YouTube guy. So this is what we're going to do. Guys, there's one match in this show that I didn't agree with, and it didn't even tick me off that much, and I'm not going to let that one match take away from the fact that this was a fantastic Money in the Bank. It's your buddy, it's your pal, SpazPhoenix, the YWC Reality Check, with your Money in the Bank 2012 review. Guys, all of you that were worried about there only being 4 matches on the show, and you know, why are we putting stuff on the pre-show when there's, you know, there's lots of room on the show, and da-da-da-da, and we're going to worry about what the order of things are, and I don't know, guys, it was a good show. Like, there's nitpicks here and there. Do I think that the Raw Money in the Bank should have gone on last? No. Did it hurt anything in the long run? I don't think so. Because it was what we thought it was going to be, with one major exception that made me mark, and we're going to get to that when we get to that. But as with all the shows, the pay-per-view shows, now we start with the pre-show. Pre-show opens up with Santino Marella being a goofball, saying that if he wins, he's going to get a little briefcase for the Cobra. He's joking around with Zack Ryder, etc., etc., etc. Damien Sandow tries to interrupt them and do his pseudo-intellectual shtick, and Ryder basically owns him and makes me a happy boy. R-Boom versus Hunico and Camacho. Funny thing to note, yeah, it's the pre-show, we're getting ready for Money in the Bank. The briefcase and the ladders are already in place when this tag team match is happening. So it's like, yes, so we're starting the pay-per-view with the Smackdown Money in the Bank, aren't we? Oh, yes. Hunico starts the match by pretending to beat up Little Jimmy. Truth gets really, really angry, beats him up for a little while. Great double teaming by the tag team champions, which is great. Camacho got a great double underhook suplex in there, which was a little interesting because he kind of looked like he struggled with it, but in the end I think that made it more effective looking. Matt Striker was on commentary for Matt Striker, and I don't know who was with him because Matt Striker is the one I'm really listening to. He's on commentary for the pre-show, and he sticks it out there right in the middle of nowhere. You know, a lot of people are out there are Cena fans. I'd like to know that I'm the Cena hater, and I hope Cena gets his heart broken tonight. And I marked like fuck for that. Yes, I did. Kofi Kingston misses the Trouble in Paradise and gets a boot to the head from Hunico. After a great slam by Camacho, Hunico hits what I'm going to call a roll-up powerbomb, because he basically rolls him up, follows all the way through, and it ends in a sort of a one-arm powerbomb type maneuver on Kofi Kingston. Kofi Kingston gets a top rope head scissor on Hunico. Pause for a moment. I have not always been the greatest supporter of Kofi Kingston. I've always been one of those guys that says, yeah, he's alright, he's there. Kofi Kingston impressed me a lot tonight. More than I would have expected, and that has to be said. R-Truth did his thing. Hunico and Camacho really, really stepped up for guys that aren't really, you know, usually pay-per-view worthy guys. They stepped up to the plate, but Kofi Kingston really, really, really knocked it out of the park for me tonight, so that was a nice little spot. Truth gets a DDT and a near fall on Camacho. Little Jimmy's revenge on Camacho gets the win for R-Boom, and R-Boom retain. Yes, great little match. It wouldn't have hurt my feelings if this had been on the show, if I can be honest. We get a Chris Jericho interview backstage. Huge crowd pop for Chris Jericho. My God. And as soon as the word Cena leaves his lips, the crowd is booing the fuck out of Cena, who's not even there. There's not much to his interview. It's like, hey, I created this, I'm gonna win, da-da-da-da-da. Brian backstage says to Josh Matthews, who's interviewing him, don't refer to AJ as my ex-girlfriend, refer to her as my future wife. Tells Josh Matthews he doesn't know anything about women, says he knows that AJ is going to be tough but fair, and says, I'm going to walk out of Money in the Bank tonight with the title and AJ. Good times, to be sure. We start with the Smackdown Money in the Bank, and guys, I'm going to tell you something. You know, you guys all know Doomy Clipboard of Doom. This and this is my notes for the Smackdown Money in the Bank match. Now, for the purposes of my appreciation lottery, which some people, you know, people that weren't involved in it mostly, didn't seem to like the idea of, let's just say This is the order people came out. People came out, number 1, Dolph Ziggler, number 2, Santino Marella, 3 was Rhodes, 4 was Sandow, 5 was Kid, 6 was Sin Cara, 7 was Tensai, and 8 was Christian. So, monitor your numbers, etc. If you've been watching Twitter, you already know who won the appreciation lotteries, etc., etc., etc. But here we go. In the beginning, Tensai clears the ring. Tensai launches Kid face first into a ladder. Kid and Christian hit Tensai with a ladder clothesline. Sandow launches Christian, Kid and Santino out of the ring. Ziggler dropkicks Sandow off the ladder. Ziggler and Rhodes brawl for a little bit. Sin Cara flies over... Sin Cara does a lot of high-flying spots over Rhodes and Ziggler. Sin Cara does some sort of failed, botched suplex-type maneuver out of the corner. That was the first botch of the night. I do give Sin Cara all the credit in the world and all the benefit of the doubt in the world, but when he botches, I'm still going to point it out. Oh, yes. Sin Cara tried to pin Tyson Kidd. Just saying. Christian misses the frog splash and ends up frog splashing Steel, which I'm sure felt great. Rhodes gets the disaster kick on Sandow. Kid takes out Rhodes. Tensai botches a powerbomb on Santino Marella. Again, second botch of the night. And it looked really awkward. It looked like he kind of took him and didn't know where to put him, and then they both fell over. Kid hits a head scissors on Tensai out of the ring. Santino owns Sin Cara for a while. Christian climbs over Sandow and gets close to the briefcase. Great reverse DDT on Sandow and spears Sandow into a ladder that is perched in the corner. Ziggler and Rhodes double team Christian for a while, and then Ziggler and Rhodes brawl their way to the top of the ladder. Tensai owns both of them, which really, really seemed out of place. Everyone stops Tensai. Basically, everybody says, fuck you, we don't know who's going to win, but you are not. Santino goofballs around for a little while, hits Ziggler with the Cobra, and then plays up this, he's afraid of heights shtick. It's Santino, this is why we didn't want him in the match. He's not afraid of heights, but apparently, or he's afraid of heights, but apparently the Cobra isn't. 'Cause that's special. He gets chased up the ladder by Sandow, who takes the Cobra from the top of the ladder, and why? Cody dropkicks Santino off and basically gets in his face screaming, "That's my case." I liked that a lot. And my papers are all over the place, of course. Cody decides to climb, it's his time to climb the ladder, etc. And something's beeping at me, but that's fine. He decides to climb the ladder, and he's followed up by none other than Vicky Guerrero, and he starts yelling at her, she's on this side, he's on this side. He starts yelling at her through the ladder, which was interesting, which gives Ziggler enough time to hit a zigzag off the ladder, which was a nice little spot. Christian and Ziggler brawl up to the top of the ladder. Kid, from his own ladder, jumps ladder to ladder in a rolling... I knew what I was going to call this before I did this video. A rolling sunset flip powerbomb from the ladder to the ground on Ziggler, which Ziggler sold like a boss. Christian clotheslines Santino out of the ring. Sin Cara gets powerbombed onto a bridged ladder that was bridged between the apron and the announce desk. That's done by Tensai. Ziggler gets hurled like a fucking lawn dart into the announce areas, laps, whatever, also by Tensai. Christian spears Cody off the ladder from another ladder. Ziggler tosses Christian off, and Ziggler is your motherfucking Smackdown Money in the Bank match winner! Yes! Yes! I don't care if it's the wrong guy with the wrong chant. Yes! He's going to go show off. That's my thing. So he celebrates for a while, and I hop on Skype and celebrate with a bunch of people, and we come back. The next, we hear the announcers say, coming back from a 2-month hiatus, former WWE champion, The Miz. And I mark some more. I say, okay, fine. This is going to be a good night for my Fave 5. The Miz comes out. The Miz is awesome. Chants are ringing out throughout the arena. Miz doesn't have the mohawk anymore, and he's kind of trying to sport facial hair. So he kind of looks a little special, not gonna lie. Comes out, announces he's a bona fide movie star, announces he's won Money in the Bank before, he knows how to do it, and he's going to do it tonight because he is the 5th entrant in the Raw Money in the Bank ladder match. Makes me a happy boy. We go to, okay, this is something we say about TNA a lot, and I'm going to say about WWE in this case because it applies here. Your weekly shows should promote your pay-per-views. Your pay-per-views should not promote your weekly shows. Even if you make an exception for the fact that it's the 1000th episode of Raw, I still don't like it. But they did a Raw flashback moment. They did a flashback to the night that WCW made fun of Mick Foley winning the WWE Championship, and it made something like 600,000 viewers switch over to WWE. And from that point on, WCW never won in the ratings again. So, you know, great little moment for Mick Foley, even better moment, even a better chance for Vince McMahon to come out, like, how many years later and still make fun of beating WCW. Okay. Sheamus versus Alberto Del Rio. Big Alberto Del Rio fan, which means I like this match a lot and I like the way it unfolded. It wasn't as much, like, there wasn't as much to it as I thought there was going to be, but I still liked it a lot. Before the match even starts, Alberto Del Rio starts, you know, patting his own arm, teasing Sheamus, because he knows Sheamus's arm is in a bad situation because of the beatdowns he gave him on Raw and on Smackdown the previous week. Alberto Del Rio gives Sheamus a slap. Sheamus starts to brawl with him. Alberto works on the arm early and often. You know, people that hear me rant on Cena all the time about not having psychology, go to this match if you want psychology. Works on the arm all match, beats him down in the corner, hits him with a step-up enziguri and a drop kick and gets him all the way out of the ring. Works on Sheamus's arm outside of the ring. 2C chants. Yes, I'm sorry. Daniel Bryan can't take credit for this one, Alex. I'm sorry. These were loud and pronounced C chants, which was amazing. Many, many, many kicks to Sheamus's head and a headbutt and a stunner to the arm. I know. By that I mean he basically pulled off a Jericho codebreaker, but did it to the arm and shoulder instead of to the chest and chin. I don't really know what they want to call it because WWE doesn't like their announcers to call moves anymore. Moving on. Sheamus starts Superman back and gets a near fall and gets an arm stunner over the ropes, which is proper arm breaker. Over the ropes, which is a little better looking. But, of course, because he's the Ginger John Cena, we get the Irish Curse and a near fall for Sheamus. He fails at the bro kick and gets a backbreaker from Alberto Del Rio. Stands up like nothing happened because that's good ring psychology. Hits the white noise, hits the bro kick, and Sheamus gets the win. And I am not the happiest kid in the world, but at the same time I am, because I'm a big fan of Alberto Del Rio, and it is blatantly obvious in this match that Alberto Del Rio carried Sheamus to a good match. And much like people don't like Sheamus, you know, Supermaning over Bryan at WrestleMania, this had that same feel to me. This had the feel of a Cena match to me, where whoever else is in the ring carries the match, and, you know, 5 minutes to the end of the match, okay, time to get my 5 moves of doom in, and whatever. Want another example of that? Go back and look at Sheamus versus Ziggler. Anytime they've fought. Sheamus and Alberto Del Rio and Ricardo Rodriguez give Sheamus a beatdown after the match. 2 loud and pronounced "We want Ziggler" chants, and Ziggler, in fact, does come in to cash in the briefcase. Alberto Del Rio tries to stop him for some reason. Sheamus, because he's a cheap shot artist, oh yes, takes advantage of that distraction, boots Ziggler, and thinks he can call that a victorious day. But no, because the match never started, Ziggler still has his case, so Sheamus can suck it. Moving on. I liked it. I liked this match. I liked the way it ended. It made it quite clear the bitch that Sheamus is. He's a bitch with a belt. Sorry, guys. For the second time tonight, we see our Boom announced, and we think they're going to have another match, maybe, but then we actually see them coming down the aisleway, and they're both in suits, and Booker T points out that, you know, R-Truth is rocking a suit and a do-rag, and that's wonderful. Primetime players come out, and they get a match against Epico and Primo, which is good. I like the fact that they have this on a pay-per-view, because we need to tie up the whole, you know, AW screwing over Epico and Primo and going with the Primetime Players story before the Primetime Players, who I'm vastly becoming a fan of, go on to SummerSlam and become the Tag Team Champions. Oh yes. Primetime Players dominate at first, and then we have a couple neat high spots from Epico and Primo. We got a head scissor for Primo, we got a suicide dive by Primo, we have a rolling dive to the outside by Epico. Titus beats down Epico on the outside, and we have great double teaming by the Primetime Players. Titus hits a backbreaker around... Titus wraps Epico's back around the post in a backbreaker type maneuver. A hard fall-away slam on Epico. Primo's springboard Primo gets a springboard senton bomb on Young. Primo gets a quick roll-up victory, and Primo and Epico win the match. The story is after the match when AW and the Primetime players try to get in R-Boom's face at commentary, and one of the guys, whether it was Kofi Kingston or R-Truth, douses him with water, and instead of the teams going at it, the Primetime players try to keep AW from acting out because he's taken his shoes off, and apparently taking his shoes off means he wants to fight. I love the AW character. I'm sorry, I'm not saying this to be offensive. Abraham Washington is the chocolate Jimmy Hart. I love that he's got the headset. I love that he's talking throughout the whole match. I love how much he's annoying everybody else because it works. And the Primetime players are a fun team to watch. I'm sorry, this is nothing against Epico and Primo, but they were not the ones I cared about in this match. They were not the ones that I see picking up the tag team belts again anytime soon. Not only that, we bitch about the situation in the tag team division. We had a championship match on the pre-show, and we had what could roughly be considered a number one contenders match, even though the number one contendership wasn't on the line. The number one contenders were involved on the actual show. That means one pay-per-view, 2 tag team matches, both of them with tag team championship implications, and we built the story, and we set the groundwork for SummerSlam. So those of you who refuse to believe that WWE is getting mildly better with their tag team division, and I'm not saying they're growing by leaps and bounds, please understand me, but they're doing better than they were. They have teams that come out, and it's a simple thing. A lot of people said it on Twitter. When was the last time you saw 2 tag teams that both looked like tag teams going at it? When was the last time you saw one team of, you know, guys that acted the same, wrestled the same, dressed the same, had tandem offense, had a tag team name, etc., going up against another team like that? If you had one team like that, more often than not, they were going up against a team that was thrown together. And now we don't. Now we have a few pronounced teams. We have Primo and Epico. We have the Primetime players. We have the Usos. We have Gabriel and Kidd once they get back onto that. We have, who am I forgetting? We have the Ascension in NXT, who I'm not entirely sure that I'm a fan of just yet. We have Hawkins and Reks, who I will get to later. Oh, yes, I will. But tag team situation, guys, it's not that bad. It's really, really not. We have a recap video of the entire AJ Punk Bryan match, and in the back of my head I'm thinking, oh shit, I know a bunch of my buddies out there that are going to be shit and vinegar because this match isn't going to be the main event. And then we have an interview with AJ backstage where she basically lays out that Punk broke my heart in front of everybody and he rejected me and da-da-da-da-da, but I still know that he's a great guy. Daniel Bryan is my first love, and you never really forget your first love, but he's a liar and he's selfish and he's only using me to promote his own career, etc., etc. And when I see both of them together, I don't know whether to hug them or rip out their... And then she just stops and says, I have to go. The match is next. And I think that is fucking... AJ Lee, I'm sorry, and I know this makes me sound like a mark. Maybe I am. I really, really don't care at this point. AJ Lee, as far as this story goes, and as far as her character goes, and as far as her being nuts or whatever, AJ Lee can do no wrong in my book. I'm sorry. Because she's not in the WWE anymore, AJ Lee is my new Lita. And I said it. There we go. Punk vs. Bryan with AJ as the ref, which was made into a no disqualification match. I did not go point for point on this match because I would have ended up with carpal tunnel syndrome. Moving on. I do have points. Anything that I don't have here in detail, basically fill it in with how well and how good a match you know Bryan and Punk can put on. This is just some of the high spots. I have to say, the crowd was insane for this match. Or at least it came across that way on TV. They were torn. Bryan and Punk both had a strong fan base represented in the voice of the crowd in this audience. I don't even remember where they were, to be quite honest with you. So I can't even give the town credit, I suppose. Punk does great suicide dives. We know this. I have to write it in there because it's true. AJ takes a bump from the apron early. Bryan throws Punk into her. She falls off the apron. As she's leaving, Bryan follows her, pretends to give a shit. Da 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 da. Punk and Bryan had a very, very cool spot. We know that the the ring steps are shaped like that on one end so that they fit against the ring post. There was a spot where Bryan had Punk in that sort of V between the steps and the post, and it worked out really, really well. There was a loud "We want tables" chant, and one was pulled out, and it wasn't used right away. Then we got the kendo stick out, and holy fuck, did these guys tear flesh off bone with the fucking kendo stick. Jesus Christ. Top rope superplex on Punk from Bryan. AJ returns while they're both down, gets a chair, looks around, tries to consider who she wants to give the chair to, because they've both separated off into their individual corners because it made the scene look right, and drops the chair in the middle with a smile on her face and watches them fight over it. I thought it was fucking brilliant. And eventually, we come to a spot where Punk props up the chair in the corner. He's about to throw Bryan into it, and AJ steps in the way. And everybody thinks, "Aw, she's going to side with Bryan. They're going to do the predictable thing, whatever." And then Punk ends up eating that chair eventually. But Daniel Bryan goes for the kendo stick later on in the match, and she steps on it, blocking him from getting that. And Punk ends up getting, everything evens out again. Punk eats chair in the corner. Punk tries to elbow drop Bryan on the chair. Bryan moves. Punk elbow drops the seat of the chair. And I'm sorry, I know it's kayfabe, but that still made me go, ooh, that could have been bad. Daniel Bryan locks in the yes lock with the kendo stick across CM Punk's face. He gets out, hits the GTS. It's a near fall. Eventually, the table does get brought into the ring. Top rope back suplex through the table on Bryan by Punk. And AJ Lee counts the pin, no problem, and CM Punk is still your world champion. So after fucking with both of them throughout the whole match, when the pin happened, she counted it. No problem, no bullshit. I figured, okay, 1, 2, or something like that, but no. She just counted it. Which means she's even more insane. She just wanted to fuck with them. I think she just wanted to see them destroy each other. She didn't care who won, so there's no reason for her not to count a winner. I love this. And I love that it's probably going to keep going. Oh, yes. So now, with the main event out of the way, we've got one match left, which is the Money in the Bank match from Raw, right? No. We have more matches than that. Up next, we have Hawkins and Reks versus Ryback, and I like that over the last couple of weeks, they've actually kind of built up to this. Hawkins and Reks flipped a coin. Hawkins won. He got to go and fight Ryback, and he basically got squashed. Reks came back the following week to avenge his partner and / do the whole, hey, let me show you how it's done type thing. For a match that we knew Ryback was going to win, Reks had a decent match. I don't know what else to say other than that. Reks had a decent match with Ryback. I think it was this past Smackdown or Raw. I'm not sure. The two of them together against Ryback was the next logical step, because they've both fought him separately, and for them to think, okay, we can't beat him separately, we have to beat him together, makes sense. And it goes with the whole mentality where he was fighting 2 jobbers at once, and at that point he was saying, give me 3. So instead of giving him 3 jobbers, they gave him 2 semi-legitimate guys. And here's my other point for this. Hawkins and Reks are another team that never ever gets recognition or face time or pay-per-view time or whatever. So Hawkins and Reks, even though it was in a handicap match capacity, is the 5th legitimate tag team featured in this pay-per-view, and I love it. And it wasn't a squash. It was a squash in the sense that one guy looking that great over 2 guys could be considered a squash, but it wasn't any 5-second boot to the face, and get your quick pin. No, they made him work for it. For a guy that you knew was going to win, they made him work for it, and I like that. And it helps Hawkins and Reks because it gets them on TV, and they look the best out of anybody else that has tried to take down Ryback so far. And it helps Ryback because he's upping the quality of his competition, even though it's a small step because most people don't think as highly of Hawkins and Reks as I do. Moving on, obviously Ryback gets the win. I didn't write much about it. It was a good match. That's pretty much it. Then, much to the chagrin of my friend Kara, we hear Layla's music, and I'm thinking, okay, we're going to get a Divas Championship match. Maybe AJ's going to pull double duty. She's going to walk out not only as the ref, not only on CM Punk's arm, but also with the Divas Championship. But no. We have Layla, Kaitlyn, and Tamina versus Beth, Natalya, and Eve. Now, let me tell you something. With Kelly gone, with Alicia Fox basically a jobber with the Bellas gone. You got 6 girls that can go in, or sorry, I'm not going to even say girls. You've got 6 women in this match that can go, and they did. And I don't know how long it went. It was a nice length match. It didn't feel short. It didn't feel long. The layout by Layla, that wicked neckbreaker that she does, gets the win for the faces. And we move on. It didn't really change anything in the Diva landscape, but it didn't hurt my feelings at all that this was on the pay-per-view. There was no Barbie doll bullshit. It's nice to see some of the names that we saw. It's nice to see Caitlyn getting some pay-per-view time. It's nice to see Tamina get back onto the pay-per-view scene. It's great to see our women's champion, obviously. The Divas of Doom. I guess Natalya's back to being a heel again. Her tights kind of looked like they were see-through, and I was really, really just hoping that we made sure the farting gimmick was out of the way, which apparently it is. So it's all good. So, you know, this is one of those nights where the Divas match was definitely not the piss break. So my hat's off to them. And yeah, Raw Money in the Bank. Coming out in such an order as Kane at 1, Jericho at 2, Miz at 3, Big Show at 4, and John Cena at 5, which kind of screws over my lottery, but I'll explain what I did with the lottery results when we get to the end of this match. Show and Cena brawl to start. Miz tries, once everybody else is out of the ring, Miz tries all on his lonesome to go up and get the briefcase. Show plows over Cena and The Miz in the ring. Show and Kane face off for a little while, because we haven't seen that 100 times. Show slaps Miz in mid-air, which was good, only because The Miz sold it off quite well. Codebreaker from Jericho, DDT from The Miz, and a boot from Kane finally get Show out of the ring. Cena does the typical, oh my god, we've never seen John Cena give the attitude adjustment to the Big Show before, through the Spanish announce table. And after that, I've lost my place. Everybody buries Show in ladders on what's left of the Spanish announce table, and huge Y2J chants ring out because Jericho is holding a ladder above his head looking all triumphant and whatever. Walls of Jericho on The Miz, which is great, and we get, for a little bit, we get a cool one-on-one sequence or scenario, or whatever you want to call it, between The Miz and Jericho. This is a match I want to see somewhere down the way, just pointing that out there. Miz eats the ladder top in the corner by Jericho, being that he set the face straight out from the turnbuckle and then threw Miz into it, and he took it in the face. There we go. Miz hits the short DDT on Cena. Miz and Jericho suplex Kane onto a ladder that is flat on the ground. I can speak, I swear. I'm tired, guys. Just putting it out there. Cena does the goofball knuckle shuffle on Miz and Jericho as they're both laid out on ladders, and I'm just like, really? Really? You are the Santino Marella of this match. Oh, yes. Attitude adjustment to Kane onto Miz, who's still on the ladder. Yes, John Cena is just building himself a pile of opponents, getting ready. He might as well get the shovel out and get ready to bury them, because he's already stacking them up in a pile, stacking them up like cornwood, as good old JR would say. Show makes a Jericho ladder sandwich. Show smothers Cena with another ladder against the ropes. Usually, this is one cool thing I will say about the Big Show. This is usually a spot you would see in the corner, where you would have somebody in the corner, you would lay the ladder on them, and then you would sort of smash yourself up against the ladder. But they did it in the middle of the ring ropes, so it was kind of very, I don't know, John Cena looked like a really, really retarded marionette for a second there. And Show tosses out everybody, and Show tosses all the ladders out of the ring. So he is by himself in the ring, and it's empty. And he looks up at the briefcase and says, well, you know, shit. And then, just as I feared, the Big Show custom ladder came back. Oh, yes. Big Show goes up to get the case. Kane chases him up. Weapon of Mass Destruction knocks Kane off the ladder. A headbutt from the Big Show knocks Cena off the ladder. Cena and Jericho, after the Big Show comes down off the ladder, they both try to climb. Jericho has a sleeper on Cena, and Jericho rides this sleeper like a motherfucker, to the point where I thought they were just going to do a spot where they both fell off and somebody else won. Miz joins them at the top. Miz falls, Cena falls, Miz gets back up. Jericho and the Miz battle once again at the top, leading me to believe, once again, somewhere along the way, there's going to be a Miz-Jericho rivalry that will make me a happy kid. But Weapon of Mass Destruction punch to Jericho. Weapon of Mass Destruction punch to the Miz. Cena gets back up because, you know, he hasn't taken any offense in this match at all. He basically uses the case to beat Big Show over the head with, and while he's doing this, the handle breaks off. So I think impromptu, that was the end of the match. Because after he's done beating Big Show in the head, he realizes that the case isn't attached anymore and says, oh shit, I won! Cena's a goof. This match was crap. The only two guys that were good in this match were buried by the other three goofballs. That being said, Jericho and Miz looked as good as they possibly could in a Golden Boy John Cena match. And other than this match, this pay-per-view was fucking stellar. That's all I have to say. What can I say? My boy The Miz came back. He needs to get a haircut, but that's fine. Ziggler is your SmackDown Money in the Bank winner, and Sheamus needs to count his days. You know, get a chalkboard, put it on the back of his title belt plate. Check off the days until Ziggler decides that it's time for him to take your belt from you. CM Punk is still your world champion, which is awesome. AJ Lee is still psycho, which is awesome. We're getting phenomenal tag team focus. We got a decent Divas match that I didn't want to go leave to take a piss, which is great. Ryback's growing, all this other stuff. Everything's good. One bad ending to one match, and the fact that I don't like where one of the matches was placed does not change the fact, guys, that I had a hell of a lot of fun watching this show. I'd love to know what you think. Anyways, that's been me. I gotta go to bed. I've been Spaz, your YWC reality check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation. Keep this conversation going. Let me know what you think. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later. But for right now, I am tagging out. Bye, guys. Wow.